All right, waiting for the software to get connected here. Believe we are live, folks. All right, so just a quick update about the latest news here in Israel. I wanted to give you guys a quick report, a live report from the front lines of what's happening here in Israel. You're probably, if you're following the news at all of what's going on here in Israel, you have noticed that lately Israel has been opening up another front with Syria. So what we did this weekend, this last weekend, we actually sent the paratroopers division. We sent the 98th Fire Battalion or Fire Division. Basically, we have sent our top military units to go into the buffer zone between Syria and Israel. Because what has happened since this past weekend, is that Bashar al-Assad and his 50 plus years of control of Syria as the dictator, the head of Syria for all these many years, has finally fallen. His end has finally come to an end as the rebel armies, the rebel forces have taken over Syria, Damascus, and Bashar al-Assad got himself on a plane and hightailed out of Syria and has not been heard of or seen since. There's conflicting reports. Some say that his plane crashed and was knocked down somewhere just north of the Syrian border. And there are certain reports that are claiming that that he and his family were welcomed by Russia and held as refugees, if you will, from this war in Syria for humanitarian purposes, right? All that has yet to be seen. What I can tell you for now is that, and to give you a little bit of a perspective, understanding of what we're dealing with, when you hear about the rebel armies, the rebel forces, you have a mixed batch. You have a mixed batch of people groups, mainly Muslim. And at the very head of the rebel army, the rebel group, you have an individual called Al-Julani. Al-Julani is a member of the head of the al-Qaeda group of Syria. Al-Julani, he got raised by al-Qaeda extremists, al-Qaeda ideology and teaching. He is by no means a moderate, but of course, many are believing the report of the CNN interview that was conducted by CNN, where he went out and basically said, hey, we don't see Israel as a threat. We're looking to have freedom of worship, freedom of religion for the Christians and the Yazidis and all the minority groups, the Druze, etc. I mean, we're all good. The Kurds, hey, we're all good. Everybody's happy, right? That is not the case, in my opinion. If you let me put it like this: if you follow the track record of an individual, if you follow their track record, you follow what they have done historically, then most likely that is going to be the influence on which they act out on, right? They're not going to all of a sudden turn around and be a bunch of moderate, quiet individuals just overnight. That doesn't happen. So the responsibility on the shoulders of Al-Julani is pretty big, because essentially, if he chooses to continue in the route that he has started, which is the jihadist, the caliphate ideology, then essentially he's going to lead Syria into another front with Israel, because that's exactly what the rebels have been saying. The rebels who have posted on social media their own words. Within their own words, they literally declared and said, not hiding anything, they declared that Damascus has fallen, Jerusalem is next. So that is what they are saying. That is what they're fixated on. That's their future focus. It is Jerusalem. And so let there be no mistake here, friends. Don't have the media pull the wool over your eyes because some reporter sat down with the head of a terrorist group. Okay, mind you, by the way, Al-Julani was on the top, the head top terrorist head of the terrorist groups, or what, most wanted men for the United States for many, many years. So again, even according not just to Israel, but even according to the United States um, labeling of this individual, they have labeled him as a terrorist, and I don't see again how somebody like this with this kind of background is not going to pose a threat to Israel. So Israel hasn't pulled any punches. Israel hasn't been fooling around. We have sent our top tier units to stand guard between the border and the buffer zone between Syria and Israel. And as of this weekend, Israel has struck and hit over 350 strategic military sites, including naval sites, including airfields, airplanes. Essentially, the Syrian Air Force is now been mostly dismantled. About roughly 80% of the capabilities, the military capabilities of Syria have been eliminated, according to reports, by Israel's Air Force. So our Air Force, thank God for our Air Force, guys. Our Air Force has been working round the clock. And I tell you, I can tell you, because of where I live, we live not too far from where a lot of the air traffic is conducted. And we heard a lot of those jets basically making their missions and relentlessly taking out all of these strategic targets, so that essentially whoever takes over Syria, whoever takes over in this transition period, they do not pose a threat to Israel, at least not a heavy threat, if they were to get their hands on most of these munitions, weapon depots, tanks, planes, naval ships, etc. You get the idea. Israel is not playing around. Israel is taking this opportunity to take care of business and to basically, if there were a threat, it's not going to be as serious of a threat. And Julani and friends need to reconsider how they're going to move forward. And I really hope for his sake that he chooses the path of keeping peace with Israel and sticking to his side of the border, and basically shutting the mouths of those within his own group who have been declaring, let's go to Jerusalem, let's take over Jerusalem, let's free Gaza. They even said that, the Free Gaza movement. So they're also wanting to take over Gaza and like I said, liberate Jerusalem. So we're taking that very seriously. We're taking these threats very seriously. We're not playing around. We're not messing around. We have seen and identified what it is they're trying to do. And we're going to do everything in our power. When I say we, I mean Israel, the state of Israel, the military, the government. And if you've noticed also the statements by our prime minister, we are basically saying, we're not going to mess around. We're going to control and take defensive positions. And by the way, what this has done for Israel in favor of Israel, by the way, this whole mess in Syria, thank God, now we actually have a strategic hold of the Syrian side of Mount Hermon. So for those who are not aware, or maybe you are aware, the highest peak in Israel is known as Mount Hermon. So Mount Hermon is Israel's highest peak, but Syria has a higher peak out of the same mountain. And so on their side of the border, It's actually our peak strategically blocks their vantage and strategic intelligence viewing into Israel territory. Our peak essentially gives us a strategic viewing of all of southern Lebanon. Now that we have the Syrian peak, which is the higher peak, and it is now looking into Syria, we are able to look into Syria and have a better control, eyes on the ground, if you like, with our intelligence community as to what is happening in Syria, what is happening in Damascus, and keeping our fingers on the pulse, so to speak, to prevent any movement, any strategic attempts against Israel. We are on it. We are not messing around. And I thank God for our troops. I thank God for all my good friends who are now deployed to this third phase or third front, if you like, in our war that we have been fighting. It's technically, if you like, as far as the ground forces, we've had 4 different fronts. It's been Gaza, Judea, Samaria, the heart of Israel, and Lebanon. Now this is Syria, our 4th front. So this is the first time in Israel's history. This is historic times that we're living in, people. This is literally the most historic time period in humanity and in Israel's history, where no time before have we been on 4 different fronts like this, and where basically our soldiers can now claim that they have fought in all these different areas throughout this previous year. Yes, I also have serious concerns for the Christians in Syria. In fact, not just concerns. I know for a fact that they are being persecuted. They are being attacked. They are being humiliated, at least. And I guarantee you that the reporting will come out that they have also been murdered. Again, God forbid any of that, but I'm telling you through my experience with these terrorist groups, they're not going to play nice. They're not going to treat the Christians in their country respectfully at all. They're going to do what they know how to do, and that's what we saw on October 7th. And unfortunately, that is the same characters, if you like, the same type of people that are now taking control over Syria. So this is not good news for the Syrian people. It is bittersweet news for the Syrian people. It is a huge question mark. What is going to be the future of Syria with this new group? If you guys have any more questions, I'm seeing the comments as they're coming in. Feel free to shoot those comments in. Yeah, Afghanistan 2.0, exactly. I really hope not. So again, this is a historic time because yes, we've had a war before with multi-front, but never that I can recall where same units, like for example, myself, I've already been in 2 of these fronts. I have friends that have been in Gaza, operating in Samaria, and then also in Lebanon. So now there are those that are fighting in. So basically, what I'm saying is historically for the warfighter, this is something completely new. You have to be ready to deal with a different threat continuously. And I can tell you, as somebody who's had to fight for 200 and I believe it's 295 days of deployment, of active deployment that my men and I have been in, that is a long time. And some of my guys have been in even longer, by the way. Some of my teammates, depending on their position in the unit. So imagine you're looking at over 300 days of warfighting. And one of my good friends has been for sure for over a year. So this is definitely a very, very serious time. And at the same time, there's good news. The good news is that we have a new administration that has been elected in the United States with President-elect Donald Trump, who has made some very, very serious warnings to the Middle East, very serious warnings to the enemies of Israel, which he is also combining as the enemies of the United States. And that is rightfully so, because let me tell you that just as Damascus has fallen to the hands of these extremists, if they were to achieve their ultimate goal, which was the exact same goal of the ISIS / Hamas factions in Gaza on October 7th, their mega goal was to take over Jerusalem. That was their mega goal. If they were to achieve that, then you can only imagine. You can only imagine what the state of affairs would have been for the Jewish people here if they achieved that goal. Now, if these rebels would achieve their goal that they're wanting to do, then let me tell you, they're not going to stop with Jerusalem. They are going to fix their gazes. They're going to fix their sights on Washington, D.C., and therefore also the absolute caliphate and complete control of all of the world. That's what they're looking for, is world dominance, world control. So don't be fooled by, again, the news reportings. Don't be fooled by all of these lies and misinformation that the media is trying to feed you, because they either are knowingly or unknowingly aware of really what's happening. I think they are knowingly reporting what they think will sell news and what they find is important. And I think facts have lost them a long time ago. What has been the most useful 3 pieces of gear? That is funny. Well, for those who are concerned about that kind of stuff, I can tell you that the most useful gear is protective. So helmet, eye protection, and body armor. So I would say that would be my, if you would like, the most useful, because it is life-saving. And then, of course, I will add to that, I guess we can combine helmet and body armor as those 2 pieces of gear into one as personal protection or body protection. Eye gear is very important. But I would say probably one of the most important pieces of kit is my IFAK, or my personal trauma kit, which is carried on my person at basically all times in combat. If I'm going to remove a piece of kit or what is of lesser value for this particular mission or whatever, that does not leave me, besides, of course, my weapons and all that kind of stuff. But as what is on top of me, it will be that. So you're welcome for that question. But again, for the bigger news here, guys, this is the newest, latest update of what has been happening with the unfolding of what's happening in Syria. And by God's grace, Israel will come out of this strong. Israel will come out of this in a very, very different place, with defensible borders. My personal desire is that we will have our control over Lebanon all the way up to the Litani, which essentially gives us a strategic border between Israel, geographical strategic border between Israel and Lebanon from any northern threat. And then, if you like, also from Syria. I think it's important that we continue to control the buffer zone, even after whatever unfolds as to who's going to take over Syria. We need to make sure that we have all of the Golan Heights and all of Mount Hermon, including the Syrian side of the peaks, in our complete control, as a message, as a deterrence to the enemies of Israel, that we are watching and we are protecting and we are defending ourselves. Don't think on taking advantage of us. And hopefully that is something that will be implemented by our government and our defense was it the security cabinet of the state of Israel, and the chief of staff and all of the heads of all the security groups, if it's Shabak or Mossad or military intelligence, etc. Hopefully this is something that they are going to put as the foremost, or the head of the objectives for the future of the state of Israel. And that is what I'm hoping for. So I want to say thank you to, again, all of our friends, all of those who have been praying for Israel, all of you who have been supporting Israel. I want to thank you for the many gifts that have come by different groups, especially Christian organizations. I want to say thank you to your support. I want to thank you for taking care of the victims and those who have had the trauma from this past year of war, taking care of also just goodies for the soldiers that have been on the forefront in the cold, in the hot, in all the different conditions. There have been wonderful organizations. I had the privilege of directly working with one main group in Israel throughout this past year, and just got to spend a special night with them the beginning of this week. An organization is named Bridges for Peace. So I just want to give credit to if you're looking towards organizations that are doing something on the ground and you're looking in Israel and you're wondering what you can do, then I highly recommend Bridges for Peace. I highly recommend a bunch of other groups that have boots on the ground, have people that are on the forefront. They're doing amazing, amazing things for the Jewish people, for the victims of the war here in Israel, and that are taking action, and not just in words. And I know that to be a fact because, like I said, I've had the privilege of working with some of these organizations personally, and they have been doing some amazing things that I can tell you and not tell you about, because again, a lot of the things that we do are not for public recognition, but I can tell you behind the scenes, they have done massive, massive work. Shout out to All Things Possible, by the way. Victor Marks, who is the head of All Things Possible in his organization, have done amazing stuff. And they came here in the beginning of the war. Within the first 2 weeks of the war, they came with a team, and they came repeatedly on future visits. And they put in time, money, hard work. His team worked very hard and have done amazing things for the people of Israel and for the Palestinians at the same time. And that's something that you're also not going to hear about, is how there are many organizations. Cry for Zion is the one that I'm the head of, has supported not just the victims of terror, but also the victims of the Palestinians from the war in Gaza. We have sent care packages that my children have been involved in personally, wrapping, packing, and sending out to make sure that the victims from Hamas terror in Gaza, that they get some love, support as well, because they need it as well. They need to know that the world cares about them, that there's true care for the Palestinians, not these zombies, these from the river to the sea zombies that you see on television and on your streets all throughout Europe and the United States and Canada. But I'm talking about showing real support to real hurting people, and there's ways to do it. And we've been a part of that as well. And I'm very proud of that. It is important. It says in the Torah that you are to give a cup of cold water to your enemy. And that is something that I've seen personally on the battlefield. One of my good friends and one of my most best friends, who is a absolute warrior and has had to fight on October 7th with his team to liberate and free a lot of the Jewish communities that came under attack on October 7th. He saw many of his friends killed in combat, close quarter combat with these terrorists. And when we came in contact with the hundreds of the Hamas prisoners, we had personal contact with many of them. And there were multiple times, of course, to act out violently towards those that did evil towards us. And a person like this, who had seen so much hurt from these guys, instead of acting out in vindication and trying to get back, I actually have a picture of him giving water to these prisoners, literally, and fulfilling that command. That is the Jewish people. That is the Jewish spirit. That is what we are about. We are not about world dominance. We're not about any of the things that the media is lying about and telling you about. So, friends, I hope this becomes something good for you to share, to comment on, to, if you want to hear more of this kind of reporting, please let me know. This is the first time that I'm trying to do a live on multiple platforms simultaneously. It's not very easy to do. And if you enjoyed this, please share it. You're not going to hear frontline truth, true reporting. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm just giving my perspective from my personal involvement in this war as a war fighter, as the head of a nonprofit that has been involved in taking care of both my people, but also my enemy at the same time. And like I said, having wonderful involvement with Christian organizations that have done amazing stuff, and you can follow them. And I hope that we will see a peaceful resolution for the Syrians, for the Lebanese people that have also been in continued war and trauma in their country. And I really pray for the peace and resolution for the Gazans and the rest of this region that has been plagued with extremists and terrorists. And like I said, it's important that you know who are the enemies, what are their intentions, and to understand that if Israel is carrying out these strikes in Syria, and that you'll probably hear, because this is what I've seen throughout the whole year plus of my frontline involvement in war, is that the media is constantly lying about us and what we're doing and claiming that we're committing war crimes. Nothing could be farther from the truth on that. Our goal is simple. It is to ensure the safety and security of every Israeli in the state of Israel, and to create friendly relations with our neighbors. If that is what their intentions are in Syria for, again, this Al-Julani and friends, then we are more than welcome to walk forward in a peaceful way. If they choose to use the sword, well, then I think the message is clear through the past few days that our Air Force has made very clear. We are not messing around. So again, guys, if you like this, share it, send comments and follow if you want to see more of this. Last thing that I'm going to finish with, yes, I have a tour planned for the United States. Right now, there's some logistic problems. I'm having to already actually, bless you, brother, my good friend from Texas, Marcus, God willing, we'll see you in Texas, brother. Right now, I already have to rebook my first tickets leaving the country because the airline that I'm have pre-scheduled my trip with has canceled my outbound to the United States ticket. So I'm already trying to and needing to relook and rebook tickets because of all that's been happening lately in Syria. And obviously the airlines are not cooperating with Israel. So we'll see, looking for that. What is for sure, nothing's for sure, but what is for sure is that I'm planning and working strategically is and trying to strategize a tour, a speaking tour that's going to be as efficient as possible, get to as many speaking engagements and podcasts, TV interviews, etc., in the United States to shed some light, to shed truth on this past year of what Israel's been fighting. So giving firsthand account. And I will be talking about post-trauma for military veterans, law enforcement, first responders, and basically discussing how does Israel deal with it and how we can help these wonderful heroes who are on the watch daily to protect your communities, to rescue you from a fire, God forbid, from your home, and all the different things that they have to deal with that, of course, impact them as a result of their lifeless or not life. How do you say? They're putting their life out on the line on the daily for the sake of their people, their community. So that is what is planned. And I will also be talking about our film that is coming out, I Am Israel. So we are very soon completing the film. We are at the very end of the post-production, and we will also have special viewings of the film. We're not going to have the whole film being viewed, but we will have certain portions that we will have as a special preview, if you like, of the film, as well as we are announcing the release of the I Am Israel film that we have been working on, and that has also had some delays because of all the different things that have been happening here in Israel lately. But we're pleased to announce that that is soon to be released and going to come out as well. So that is what we'll be doing on this speaking tour. Guys, God bless you. I hope you enjoyed this, this live stream, and we will be in touch.